Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brownwoods, and we are back at it with another banger of a match. We are bringing you none other than Grape Doffy against Shanks. Shanks, as you guys all may know, is a brand new leader that just came out, and he is a menace. He is a late game scaling red deck who loves to get into the late game and start playing his 10 drops. So pretty much you guys are gonna see how my Birdcage deck does against that. So starting it off, you know, my opponent ends up going first. And you know, he chooses to keep, I choose to keep too. Whenever I'm playing this deck, what I'm looking for in my starting hand is definitely Birdcage, Sugar, and 10 drop Doffy. I feel like those are the three main important ones. If I see two of those, I'm pretty much having a good game. If I don't see any Birdcage or like any Baby 5 or any way to search for Birdcage, I typically try to look for it. So my opponent ends up tapping 1 for the Uta and grabs a 10 drop Shanks. Very efficient turn, very strong turn, right? Like turn 1, he's pretty much grabbing the best card in his deck. So back to us, we pass. We have no plays that we can make, no Sugars to play, no Baby 5s, no Rocinante blockers, so we are forced to pass, which never feels good. But you know, hey, more cards in hand, right? gotta look at the bright side of things. So my opponent swings 5 to life, I take, and he attaches 3 to Uta and swings again. This is, you know, very tough decision because, right, I don't want to take 2 life on his first attacking turn. So I'm forced to give it 2k. Unfortunately, I did not have any 1ks. So back to us, I swing 5 to Uta to just get it out of here and tap 2 for Sugar, pass, which, you know, leaves me at 4 Dawn now. If you guys don't know what Doflamingo ability does, it's at the end of your turn, set 2 of your rested Dawn is active, which pretty much is working just with your engine of what you want to do because you run a lot of 2 drop event counters. So my opponent attaches 3 Dawn and swings 9 to life. I'm really deciding on if I want to take this, and I end up taking it. No trigger. I'm not scared to get down in life because right here, like playing Doflamingo, you have a lot of defensive weapons. You are okay with countering massive hits late game. So my opponent passes, back to us. Let's see what we opt for here. We are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Dawn. This is an ideal turn for Birdcage, but you know, obviously, if you don't have Birdcage, you can't play it, right? So I don't think I have Birdcage peeking into my hand right there. Never feels good to not have it, but you know, I send 5 to leader. Oh, I'm sorry, 6 to leader. My opponent uses his leader ability and reduces me by 1,000 and pitches a 1k. If you guys don't know Shanks' ability, Shanks pretty much says on opponent's attack, reduce one character by 1,000 or leader. I attach 5 to Sugar and I swing. The reason why I did this is because it's forcing my opponent to now have to swing into this Sugar. Because if he doesn't, you know, I can rest anything that he plays. This Sugar can rest something even though it's rested, if you guys didn't know that. So pretty much using this Sugar as a blocker and protecting my life from another attack, right? Kind of forcing my opponent's hand here. He swings 5 into Sugar, you know, just how I wrote it up, just how I drew up the play, and I protect my life for this turn, which is what I wanted to do. And let's see what he ends up going for. He taps 4, and he brings in the, who's he gonna bring in? Drum roll, Lucky Root. Lucky Root is a brand new Red Hair Pirates card that is a blocker, and when it gets KO'd, he can pretty much take a body with him. He KOs a 5k or less, or a 6k or less. I forget which one it is, but he dies and he takes one with him. Only if it's KO'd though. Bottom deck doesn't work. Or if you bottom deck him, his ability doesn't work. So back to us, we are at 8 Dawn. Draw 1 for turn. We still would love to see a Birdcage, but you know, some games you don't draw it, and that's okay. You have to be able to win you have to be able to win the games without Birdcage. So I play the 7 drop Kid, Dawn -1, plus 1k to my leader until the start of my next turn. And I attach another Dawn and swing 7 to lead. My opponent uses his leader ability, minus 1,000, and pitches a 2k. So my leader stays at 6k, which is a blessing, right? Like, every turn that this kid stays on the field, it's just incrementing its value. It's going crazy every turn because it's buffing me up. I'm pretty much going to be a perma 6k leader until the rest of the game because, you know, red doesn't really have any removal. There's no way that my opponent can remove this kid unless he swings into him. And you know, like, yeah, there are ways that you could, you know, you can maybe sneak in like a Rayleigh, or not even a Rayleigh, like maybe like a Gum Gum Jet pistol, but like, yeah, there's no way that this kid's getting removed, just hard removed against Shanks. He's gonna have to swing into him, which pretty much guarantees me at least two instances that I get to use this kid's ability, which is amazing. So my opponent attaches, I believe it's 3 Dawn. I think 1 Dawn is hidden underneath. Yes, 3 Dawn, so he swings 9 to lead, so he's swinging 9 into 6. So obviously I don't want to take another life here. I don't want to go down to 1, so I tap 2 for Punk Gibson and rest his Lucky Root. Punk Gibson is plus 4k, puts me to 10, and rest one of your opponent's 4-cost characters. Really, really strong, especially in Birdcage, right? Like if I had Birdcage up, that Lucky Root gets rested and he can no longer be set active until Birdcage is off the field, which is broken if you ask me. That's why I run that card, super busted. The only bad thing is you can't search Punk Gibson with Baby 5, which kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. My opponent ends his turn by playing a Hongo, which is a activate main, reduce one character by 2,000 power, and rest this card. So back to us. Big, was that 9 Dawn turn? Big 9 Dawn turn. Let's see what we opt for here. I have some options here. Obviously, I cannot play the 10-drop Doffy because I did do Dawn -1. That's one thing that you have to remember. When you're playing these 7-drop kids, they're delaying your 10 Dawn turn by at least 1 turn. So you kind of have to be aware of that and like comfortable with lasting that extra turn before you play the 10-drop Doffy. But I tap 8 for the 8-drop kid, and I swing 8 with the other kid to Lucky Root, Dawn -1, give leader plus 1k. So, you know, putting my opponent in a very uncomfortable spot, right? He has to give me counter. He gives me 2 cards to go up to 8, and he still needs 1 more because I'm swinging 8 to 8, and 1 more to go up to 9. So my opponent wants to protect Lucky Root here because he wants to use Lucky Root's ability, but he can't use it if he gets KO'd right now because there's no targets for him to KO. And I swing 6 to Lucky Root, and he gives me another 1k because I believe he uses leader ability. Yeah, leader ability to make it 5 to 5, and then he just gives me a 1k counter Ben Beckman, which is amazing for me because Ben Beckman is a strong card. He could actually combo this Ben Beckman with this Hongo and KO an 8k, right? Like, you know, pretty strong. So kind of nice for us that he didn't get to play that. So I play Sugar to rest Hongo, and I pass turn. So now this Sugar is officially, you know, protecting this kid from any rush threats. If my opponent plays Rush Shanks here on 10 Dawn, I can rest it. And then my opponent doesn't have any way to swing into this kid. So putting my opponent in a very uncomfortable position here. Almost like denying the 10-drop Shanks in a way, if you think about it. If my opponent plays 10-drop Shanks here, I rest it. And then he passes turn because he has no characters that can swing into this kid that's 8k. So pretty 5-head play by playing the Sugar right there. So my opponent activates Hongo to reduce kid by 2,000. So pretty good card right there, right? Like now he doesn't have to invest so much to attack into it. Just taking another read into Sugar right there. Yes, whenever my opponent plays a character, I can rest it. I can rest any character. So my opponent realizes that, and he's like, damn, if I play the 10-drop Shanks, he's just gonna rest it, and then he can't do anything. So kind of forcing my opponent to attach Dawn and swing, delaying the 10-drop Shanks. So you love to see that. And he swings a big 10 into my kid. He swings 10 into kid. I can counter it, but I don't have any blockers. So even if I counter this Shanks attack, if he attaches 5 to Lucky Root and swings 10 again, I'm gonna lose the kid, plus whatever I use in hand to counter out of it. So I just decided to let it go right now. If he wants to swing with the Lucky Root, he can swing into life, but, you know, or into the other kid, but, you know, it's kind of forcing him to attack with the blocker. So he actually does not swing, and he just taps 5 to play a Yasop. He plays Yasop on play plus give leader plus 1k, and I activate my Sugar, and I'm going to rest his Yasop. I could choose to rest his Lucky Root, but I end up going for the Yasop just because it has an on-attacking ability, and I just don't want to deal with that. And my opponent passes to me. He could still, like, you know, use his Lucky Root to attack into this sugar, which in hindsight, like, might have been a good move, but you know, he ends up wanting to just keep it active. Back to us. We are at a big 10-down turn finally. Like I said, when you play this 7-drop kid, you delay your 10-drop turn, your 10-down turn by pretty much like by 1 turn. So finally made it through unscathed, kind of, right? I did lose a kid, but you know, I did deny the 10-drop Shanks turn. So I tap 7 for another kid. Dawn -1, give leader +1k. Okay, that leaves me 3 Dawn left. And I attach 1 Dawn to kid and I swing 9 into 6 to give my leader another +1k. My leader is a 7k leader now. My opponent is gonna block with Lucky Root and is gonna activate Lucky Root's ability on KO one of your opponent's characters 5k or less, and he chooses to KO Sugar, which did not feel good at all, but you know, stuff happens. And I attach the last 2 Dawn and swing 9 to Yasop, 9 to 6, and he gives it to me. And back to my opponent, right? Really, really great turn. I got rid of 2 things on his board. Yeah, all he has left is the Hongo, which is, you know, pretty good. It's a nice tool to have, but you know, definitely devastated my opponent's board that turn. And that's my main objective, because Shanks is a late game leader. He wants to make it to the late game. So, you know, I'd rather him be in the late game with little cards in hand, rather than to like swing into his life and like him having a whole like artillery of cards that he can use against me. So he activates Hongo to reduce kid and plays a 10-drop Shanks that we were dreading. Okay, he gives him another -1k because this Shanks minuses the whole board by 1,000. So my kid is at 5. And my opponent swings 5 to 5, and I use Spider's Web +4k and restand one of your characters, and I choose to restand my kid, which is a broken combo, forcing my opponent to swing into life, which I'll happily take if that means protecting my kids. And I take and I pass, or he passes. So that was a pretty 5-head play. Like, yes, I'm forcing his Shanks to attack into my life, but you guys do not realize what is in my hand. It's all planned, right? Like when you're playing Birdcage, like even in the anime, guys, like Doflamingo was planning everything, right? Like boom, 10-drop Shanks, frozen. 8 to lead, Dawn -1, plus leader plus 1,000. My opponent takes, no trigger. Okay. I swing another. He actually activated the ability Dawn so he activated his trigger to give my leader -1,000, and I swing another 9 to life, or 8 to life, and he takes Dawn -1. My opponent is now facing a 7k leader. I left that Dawn on kid from last turn, but yeah, it's all right. I'm at 7k right now. My opponent now has 3 frozen cards on his field, and we are gonna see what he ends up doing here. He does have 10 Dawn again, right? Like I said, this Shanks, he's a 10 Dawn leader, right? Like he has a bunch of 10 drops. So once he gets to the late game, you're just gonna be seeing 10 after 10 after 10. So my opponent plays another 10 drop Shanks, and everything on my board is minused by 1,000, and no, by 2,000. Everything is minused by 2,000. And yeah, that does not feel good at all. Like once you see these 2 guys on the field, very, 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 very hard to win this game. So my opponent swings 12 to 6. I tap 2 for off-white to go up to 10. Off-White is going to let me search the top 3 cards and grab a Don Quixote type card, add it to my hand. And then I'm gonna go up to 13. So crazy, like what did I tell you guys in the beginning? This is a defensive deck. We are able to block those crazy high hits this late into the game because of all the counters that we have, because of all the events, because of all the 2Ks that we run. So even right here, like even with 2 Shanks on the field, like I'm still able to protect him. And I play the 10-drop Doffy, freeze his 3 Shanks, and then I'm gonna swing, what is it, 6 to life now, Dom -1 to leader. Dom -1 to buff my leader. And let's see. So yeah, both of these Shanks are exerting that Conqueror's hockey to reduce my whole board by 2K. Like, it does not feel good at all. Let's see what he ends up doing here. He gives another -1K to my kid, and which puts it at 5 to 5, and he gives me a 1K. And then I swing again, 6 to lead, and he takes Dom -1. My leader is at 7K, but being reduced by 2K by both Shanks. I swing again, my opponent counters one last time, and then I swing 8 to Hongo and pass turn. Why did I choose to swing into Hongo here? Because if my opponent plays a rusher, any rusher, he could divide his Don up and swing 2 times. And right there, my opponent had no rusher in hand, and he saw the outcome of the game and he conceded right there. So that was a match. Pretty crazy ending right there if you think about it, right? Like, my opponent played 2 Shanks, 10 drops, and I played 2 Doffys, and I had 2 kids. It definitely ended up being a battle of the big bodies for this game, which is something that Doflamingo struggles with, I think. A lot of people think about Grape Doffy and they think that he could only really lock down small units because Birdcage only traps 5 costs or lower. But there are ways that you could combat some of these big bodies, which is the 10-drop Doffy. The 10-drop Doffy on play freezes anything. Also, the Ragnarok event, Dom -1 KO and 8 cost or less, is very crucial in this deck to be able to combat some of those 8-drop Katakuris, some of those Gecko Morias. You know, 8-drop. Pretty good card to be able to keep your Birdcage up and also get rid of a big body, which does not get trapped within Birdcage. So there you have it. That was this match. It was Grape Doffy against Shanks. I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys learned something. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I would love for you guys to try this deck. I'm gonna leave the deck list right here. Yeah, so as you guys can see right here, pretty fun deck to play. It's not just Birdcage, right? I didn't even hit Birdcage this game. I run 4 copies of Birdcage, and I teeter between 3 and 4 copies of Birdcage, but you don't need Birdcage to win games. It is just an extra tool that helps you control some games, but you know, perfect example right here. Shanks is no pushover. Shanks is a good deck and has a lot of big bodies, right? And I didn't even use Birdcage. I didn't even see it, and I didn't even play it. So that just goes to show that the power of this Grape Doffy deck, and it's only gonna get stronger. Because in OP09, we are getting a whole wave of new Don Quixote cards, purple cards that give Don -, which help with Birdcage. And we're also getting, I think, some new green stuff. I think actually in OP09, we just got a new green Don Quixote Doflamingo blocker, which I'm going to put in my deck list. But there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps my channel a lot. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.